Hey, Lee Pitts here. We're here in Alabama on Weiss Lake. It's in northeast Alabama, and it's February and it's crappie season. This time of year, everybody's longline trolling. The fish are just migrating in from the main lake, coming in off the river. They're starting to get in the mouths of these creeks, working their way up in some of these bays to get ready for the spring spawn. A lot of guys, they're used to throwing floats and corks at them, fishing around brush tops. This time of year, the fish really aren't on any kind of brush. They're out there in that open water just feeding up, following the bait. And we're doing a lot of long line trolling. A lot of you are familiar with this. It's a technique that's really getting hot around here, especially these big reservoirs that's got a lot of open water. I want to show you a little bit. The last few weeks, I see so many guys out there, they're trying to do this long line trolling. I want to give you a couple of helpful hints that'll, keep you from getting tangled up as much, help you be more productive out there on the water, cover the water that you're needing to cover, and do what this technique is designed to do. I started up front. A lot of you may only use 1, 2 rods. I like to use 3, on the front, 3 on each side, taper it off towards the back. But I've got my Lew's here, the slab shaker. This is a 12-footer. I like to reach out as far as I can on my front poles. I'm going to put this in my front holder here, and I like to, these long rods, I'll show you something that'll help you not to feel like you're handcuffed to these holders getting them out. Slide that rod out on the very tip right there. It's not going anywhere. With the pressure, if you get a fish, it's pulling it back against the holder, so it's not going to go out. I like to take my long rods and on both sides. If you're fishing by yourself, use one side. But if I can get this rod straight out, I don't want to bend it too far back up front or too far back. That way I'm getting the full extension of this rod to get the bait away from the boat. I'll take my 12-footer up front. I'm stretching it on out. I taper them down. You want to cover as much of this water column as you can possibly cover. I'm going to taper this down a little bit. This is a 9-footer here. Like I said, I'm going to put this Lew's rod, 9-footer, aim it just a little back, still using the same thing. These rods are designed, got a little bubble back here on them. They'll fit great in these rod holders. What I'm doing when I just kind of put the little bit shorter rod here, taper it back just a little bit. I'm going to angle it just a small amount. That gives it a good gap out there on the end. Got a 7-footer for my back rod. Once again, using everything I can to kind of separate the lines. What this does, you're going to have your front pole out about 3 feet, 3 to 4 feet with the angle that you're putting in it, your other bait. So not only are you trolling and just covering that outside edge, you're covering almost the whole side of the boat when you come through here. So if these fish have moved on you a little bit, the school of fish has moved just a little, you can cover that water and find out where they are. Another thing I like to do, even with this, just like my dock shooting, I like that high vis line. I'm using this is Gamma line here. Vicious makes a great line. Mr. Crappie makes a great line. I'm dealing with 4 and 6 pound test, so most of the pressure is going to be in these rods. Another reason I like that high vis line, when I'm throwing these lines back in, let's say my middle rod, I've just got a fish off on it, I'm in the boat. When I throw it back in, I'm going to make a good long cast back. I call them troughs. You can see the line separation. When you throw it, you don't have to have a precise cast. If you get it close, by the time you lay that rod back down, the boat's moving. So when you're moving, it's going to pull it in. But if you throw it way out here, you got to come across all these lines to get it back in there. So just some helpful hints. Like I said, watch your rod positions here. Watch how you put them out. I like to keep another thing. A lot of people, they don't realize, I see so many people, they'll have these rods sticking straight up, look like they got CB antennas on them. If you'll tilt these rods down as close as you can to the water, sometimes I'll get up to net a fish on one side and the rod tips will go in the water. When I get back straight, they come back up. The closer you can keep them to the water, the less the wind bothers them, the more you can watch those tips. You're not looking in that skylight, you're looking down at that water and watching these rod tips. That's the key. Let your boat be doing all the casting for you. Let the boat follow the creek channels looking for the fish. Watch these rod tips. It's not always a real aggressive strike. Sometimes you'll just see that rod barely bump. Pick him up and check him. If he's not there, set it right back down. You don't have to reel him up every time and throw it back out. But just that's some things that you can look at that will help you not only in being more productive when you're out there fishing trying this technique, but it'll also keep a lot of the frustrations down when you're out there and say, man, I've tried it and I've tried it, my line's tying a knot, I don't like it, I'm not happy with it. You're going to get tangled up sometimes. That's just part of it. You know, don't worry about it, don't get too tore up about it. A lot of times, especially if I make a turn, when you turn, the inside rods are going to fall. The lines are going to fall just because you're taking the speed off of them. I like to kick my speeds up on my trolling motor when I make my turns. That holds everything up, and it's going to happen every time. You make a turn, that inside rod falls to the bottom, a catfish or a stripe's going to pick that jig up, and he can't run out that way. He's going to come and get in every line you got. Reel them in, cut them, retie, and go on about your business. So try some of this right here the next time you're out fishing. A lot of you guys that have been a little standoffish and don't really want to try some of this long lining, when the fish aren't holding on cover and they're moving, this is a great way to be productive and catch a lot of fish. And it's a lot of fun too. When you go through a school of fish and every rod goes down and you got a fire drill going on, it's a good way to catch some fish. See you on the water.